So let's go over drainage annotation. So I have some example annotations on the screen. And if we take a look at L&D volume 3, this is pretty much what it's going to tell you. It needs to be annotated. So for plan view, you take a look at conduits. You need the direction of flow, that arrow, you need the size, the type, and you also need to call out. For nodes, you just need to call out. So that's for proposed. For existing, it's pretty much the same thing, except you'll see like existing prefix. Instead of a type, it'll be the material because it's existing. And then maybe if you have an existing action, like to be removed, would also be displayed. You still have the callout, and then same thing for nodes. You have the callout as well. So that's for plan view. For profile view, it's close to the same. For conduits, you won't have the flow arrow, but you still have the size and type and the callout. For nodes, it's still just the callout for proposed, but for existing, you're going to see kind of all the data that you're used to seeing in the past. So station, offset, the type of the node, if there is an existing action, like to be removed, reconstructed, degrade, or something like that. The grade or rim elevation, and then all the connected pipe information. So, what pipes are coming in or leaving this node. So the size, type, the direction, and the invert of that pipe. So I do want to note that while we're showing it for the existing, we're not showing it for proposed storm sewer because that is all going to be shown on your drainage details, your storm sewer profiles sheet in a tabular format. So we're kind of centralizing all that proposed drainage information in one location. So there's no need to add all that throughout your plan everywhere else. But since that page, that storm sewer profiles sheet is really geared towards the proposed work, there's the existing stuff might not make it over to that sheet if it's not directly impacted by the proposed work, which is why you still have to show that data like you typically have. So let's jump over to ORD and take a look at how we can do the annotation. I guess one other thing I should mention before we jump over is the cross-section annotation is going to be pretty much the same as you see for profiles, so I didn't have a screenshot, but they're pretty much the same requirements. So I'm in a plan drawing model here for a plan profile sheet that I've already cut, and I want to add my drainage annotation. So I'm going to start with my conduits, and so the conduit feature definitions all have an annotation group defined, so it's basically telling it what it should annotate. So it makes it very easy, and we can use the element annotation button. So if we come here, we can just click element annotation, and we can select our conduits, and then we can just reset click to place them. And so what you'll see gets placed is the flow arrow direction as well as the size and the type. Right, so very easily you can kind of bulk annotate that information. Now sometimes you might not like the standard offset that was predefined, so how far the arrow and the text is offset from the conduit. So you can change that, but I'm going to do that in another video and kind of go over how to change it for both profile and plan at the same time, since it's basically the same workflow. So look for that video if you're wanting to modify that. So what else we need to add is a callout. So there's a couple different ways we can add the callout. Now unfortunately with the version I'm using of ORD, there is a slight bug with one of the tools called Civil Labeler, which I'll go over this now, but moving forward, hopefully by the time you're watching this, in the version you're using, this problem is fixed and you don't have to worry about it. But let me go over that. So inside Civil Labeler, we can go into Drainage Utilities, and we can see we have conduit proposed callout, conduit proposed detail, and then existing callout detail. The detailed is just this text that was already placed through element annotation. So for some reason you did not want to use element annotation, you could come here and use Civil Labeler, and you can place the detailed annotation group, or not group, rather the label. And that will just place the size and type. Now this will not place the flow arrow, so you still would have to place that somehow, either through element annotation or through just placing it manually and rotating it to be the right direction. Up to you. But I want to note that label is still there. So I'm not going to place that because I think element annotation is a better route to go. And let's go and place this callout. So now with these conduit callouts, sometimes you might not want the leader line, and you want to just put it directly under or beneath the rest of the annotation they already have. So maybe you're changing this leader location to none, to not have a leader. But first I'm just going to place it with the leader line, just show you kind of the bug itself that hopefully will get fixed, and then I'll show you how you can place it without the leader. So let me just hit the place button, and it's going to basically ask me to select an element to pull the information to fill out the text, right? So I'm going to click on that, and here's the bug. That's the property it's supposed to pull from this feature that I selected, but as you can see, it's not updating to show the actual value of that property. So I'm going to place this, and so this is the bug. This should have automatically changed to the value of that property for that specific feature. Right, so you can double click on it, open up the text editor, right click, and reassign field, and just go and click on that conduit, and that will update the text field to be associated. So that's the part that there's a bug. So again, hopefully by the time you're watching this video, they've already fixed this bug, but for now that's what we're dealing with. The move command can be used to easily move it around as needed, right? That's the bug. And that's only in plain view, I should say. When you watch my video on profiles, you'll see that it's not a problem with Civil Labeler. So let's move on to just placing. Maybe I don't want the leader line, right? Maybe sometimes you'll switch this to a capsule instead of a circle, or to try to get a little bit smaller space, right? So I'm going to place this time. We can see that now. Again, same issue, but we're going to place it underneath it. We typically would want to rotate it to go kind of in line with the rest of my annotation, right? So I probably want to come to my rotation and switch that to like a tangent. Maybe tangent reverse. So it goes in the, oh, it's not going to switch, is it? Sometimes I got to turn off view readable. That should have rotated for me. There it goes. Okay. Yeah, I think it was this view readable. Sometimes I have to come here and toggle that off. So there's a little quirk to get it to go the opposite direction, I guess. Alright, so I'm going to place that. Again, I had the same issue of association, little bug. Hopefully that's fixed, but there's kind of how you might want to, you don't want to move it like that. Another thing to show, you want to use this move command, and it'll keep kind of everything together as you'd want. So you can repeat that for all your conduits. So let's move on to nodes. And so node annotation does not have anything set up on the feature definition for annotations. So we cannot use the element annotation for nodes. And really, when you use element annotation, you want to place annotation with a leader line. The functionality just really isn't that great for moving it around. The leader line, after you place it, if you move it, the leader line doesn't follow with it. So element annotation for the nodes really wasn't that great, so I did not set it up intentionally, because I think Civil Labeler is just a much better option. So I'm going to come and select my nodes now, so my storm node label, and I'm just going to place that. So here we're going to see the same bug, right? So we can easily fix that bug just by adding that association back in. And that's, you could repeat that for all of your nodes. Now, I didn't mention this yet, but Civil Labeler does have the ability to annotate in bulk. So I could select, multiple nodes. So I'll just select these two for now. I can hit place, and I can kind of start my placement here, and you'll see that I can bulk annotate and kind of define a standard offset here to place. So again, once this bug is fixed, this would be a really good workflow. But for now, having to come in here and reassociate that maybe isn't the best. So there's another way we can do this that might be better until they fix this problem. And so that is actually through the use of the place note tool. So the place note tool probably used just in MicroStation just for placing regular notes with just standard text, right? But we want to use it with this dynamic text that's linked to the properties. And so we can actually do that. It's just going to be use of the text favorites instead of an actual label. So all those labels that I showed in Civil Labeler have a text favorite that goes with it. So if I scroll down to the plans label or the text favorites, you're going to see there's a plan proposed for the node callout, for the pipe callout, or the node callout for existing. So all these match up with those labels you just saw in Civil Labeler. So I want to just select the proposed node callout, right? And I see that feature name, or that property that's going to pull from. And over my place note tool, we're going to use the same dimension style that Civil Labeler was using. So if I look at Civil Labeler again, you can see that it's using this dimension style, right? So I have the same one set. Now I will go in here and just make sure that I have the text frame set to circle. I think the in leader line was also set, so I cleared that out to 0 to get rid of that extra line in my leader line. But you might have to come in and just edit that dimension style just to get that text frame added there to give you your circle or capsule, whatever you choose. And then I can just come and annotate. So I make sure I have my pipe as the selection when a data point, and then it automatically does association, what Civil Labeler is supposed to do, right? So that's a quick little workaround, I guess, until they fix Civil Labeler. That's maybe another option to place those callouts. Another workaround for the bug that I just showed with Civil Labeler is to go in and just place the label that would hit the feature name rather than trying to get it from the item type. So again, a little bit of workaround until they fix the bug. So if we look in the plan linear, there's actually one already set up that we can just kind of use for the time being. So in here, we can choose like if we want to add the border to it, the rotation. Maybe go back to view horizontal. And we can just come here and we can place a label. And you'll see it does what it's supposed to do. So the same way I showed you how to set the label up to do this earlier would apply. You just would use this label instead. That's a second workaround. So there's the place note, and then there's just using the feature name for the callouts instead. And then the existing annotation is this pretty much the same exact process. I do have another plain drawing model here that had some existing stuff I threw in here just for demo purposes, but the element annotation is still going to work, right? It's still going to give you all that. So Labeler is going to be the same thing. It's just going to use the existing labels, right? So maybe I place that real quick. Now we still have the same bug, but it's going to give us just straight text rather than slanted text. It's just slight differences, but for the most part, the workflow itself is going to be the same for proposed and existing. So there's how you can do your plain view drainage annotation. Again, hopefully in the next release here, we get rid of that slight bug and this will become even easier. Look for that other video on if you want to start modifying the offset for these annotation groups. I'll go over that in another video. Okay, so let's go over the annotation in profile view for drainage items. So I am in my profile drawing model of a plan and profile sheet. And one thing you'll notice right away is there's a couple things that auto-annotated. So one of those things is all the conduits. So everywhere it saw a conduit piece, it automatically annotated. And so that's just similar to like the element annotation that we talked about in plain view, automatically being applied during sheet creation. Right, so I could come to my drawing production tools and I could say remove element annotation. I can click this, reset, you'll see it goes away. So it is element annotation just like plain view. So you'll notice that it'll just kind of do it automatically, which is great for your longitudinal pipes that are running along your profile. But the crossing ones, you probably want to add like a leader line to call it out. So you might end up deleting some of them. And just how I mentioned with the plan view, there you can control this offset. So I'll show that in a separate video. It just goes over both plan and profile. It's just modifying that offset from the pipe to where the annotation actually gets placed. Is a very similar process. So we can open up our civil labeler, and we can also do annotation through here. So if you didn't like the element annotation and you'd rather use the civil labeler, that's possible. We'll go into the profile conduits, and you're going to see that there are these proposed callout and proposed detailed, existing callout and detailed. So the detail is this size and type. So if I were to place this, you see it's basically the same thing. So just another way to place it. Now we do need to place the callout still, right? So we can come here, and unlike in plain view, this does not have the bug. So I can come here and place the callout. Now you probably don't want the leader line just like before. Maybe you want a capsule, and move that to tangent probably. And when I go and place it, and kind of go get it right underneath it there, like that. So that's one way you might want to place your callouts. So fairly similar to the plan view stuff that I showed earlier. For the pipes here, I'd probably add those callouts. I maybe would go back to circular, adding my leader line. View horizontal, maybe I'll just place that. So for those, that's probably what I would do there. So let's move on to the nodes. So just like plain view, there is no element annotation set up on the nodes like there is for conduits. So you cannot use this element annotation tool for nodes, but instead you're going to use civil labeler. So we can come to our nodes section, and we can see there's several labels here. So one of the ones that we're typically going to use for pros is going to be the callout. So if I place that, I can click on my drainage node, and I can apply that label. Now one thing you'll notice is it likes to shoot the leader line down to the middle bottom. So if you use like a near point snap when you're placing, it will not do that. So just a little tip there. So you would repeat for all of your nodes in your profile view, and just like in plan view, this can also be annotated in bulk, right? So I could, select a couple of my nodes, and then I could use the placement tool, and now you see there's some bulk annotation options going on there. Now, you'll notice that we don't have the slew of information on our nodes that we typically show in the past. So I mentioned earlier that that information is really going to go over into your profile run sheets. So we still have those labels here. So depending on the number of pipes that are connected to a given node, you'd have to choose the right label. So this one is for like 3 pipes. So if I were to place that, it's going to go and give me all that extra information that I'm used to seeing. So again, when it comes to the proposed side, we're not really showing all that information, we're just showing a call out. But for existing, those profile run sheets are really for the proposed work, so unless that existing item is directly connected to the proposed work, it's probably not going to make its way over to that sheet, and you still have to show that all this detailed data in the profile view like we always have for the existing items. So let me jump over to the other profile sheet. And just show you really quickly, the annotation is all the same. Alright, so we can come and open a civil labeler and just make sure I'm choosing my existing node labels. So I can click place, and I can get all of that information. Alright, so granted you wouldn't put it there, but there is, just showing placing existing drainage. I can come to my annotation, I can click on my pipe, and I can get that conduit annotation just like I was showing for the proposed stuff. So this is how you would annotate, so you make sure you add your callouts in, but this is how you can annotate your profile views. So let's go over cross-section annotation for drainage. So in OpenRoads Designer, typically what you're going to annotate when it comes to cross-sections and drainage is going to be like pipes like this, right? We're no longer in the geopack days of projecting the drainage structure to the nearest cross-section. That's what the profile run sheets are for. We're only going to show something on the cross-section if it's actually there at that location. So to annotate this, unlike plan and profile, when it comes to conduit, there's no element annotation for cross-section views. Okay, all that is going to be handled through the drawing model annotation if it is set up. So element annotation won't work in cross-section, but what we have done is in the drawing model annotation, we have created an annotation group for drainage and sanitary. So I can just go ahead and accept that annotation group, and it'll go through and find those features and automatically apply the annotation. So close to the way the planet profile was working, just a little different. So drawing model annotation rather than element annotation. Now you can still use Civil Labeler as well, just like the other views. So if I go and look at the cross-section, we can see that we have the callouts, and as well for the nodes we have the callout details for the conduit, for proposed and existing, and then sanitary. So this cross-section proposed detail is going to pretty much do the same thing that model annotation did, except it's going to have a leader line on it. So maybe that's more preferred. So maybe you go that route instead. But again, those are 2 options for you for annotating the conduit information in a cross-section. Now, I do want to jump over to another cross-section. So this one kind of sliced through along a pipe, and then so it looks a little weird, but I wanted to show, like, if you have nodes shown, like catch basins, you can still annotate that in cross-sections using Civil Labeler. So just like in Plan and Profile, when it comes to the node features, there's no drawing annotation set up for it. Just like in Plan and Profile, there was no element annotation set up for conduits. So open up Civil Labeler, and you can easily label a callout. So node proposed callout, and as long as you're getting that element, it will go ahead and get that callout name for you. So when you're showing a pipe like this, you probably would not show a leader line and have it go tangent to that pipe right there like that. So there's different ways you can place some annotation. Now I do want to say that the existing annotation might have more information or will have more information. So if this was an existing catch basin, then you would have to give that full detailed annotation, just like I showed in Profile. And I didn't go and make I didn't repeat all of these annotations for cross-section, but so you can just use the Profile one. So if this pipe, has one pipe coming out of it, maybe it was two, I don't remember. You can still use the Profile View 1 to grab that information, right?